Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Mephisto versus issue 3. And this time in the 4-part miniseries, he is after the X-Men. Now he still has Jean Grey trapped in his realm, and Mephisto has to punish some of his minions for trying to torment her because she is not dead. The physical body is a little bit more fragile than the spirit, apparently. And some of the demons interrupt his anger when they tell him that part of the realm is crumbling. Well, that says something because his power is connected to the realm. So the realm is actually a physical manifestation of him. Then we cut over to the Fantastic Four talking to X-Factor, and Reed tells Cyclops that Mephisto gave him some kind of illusion that he wanted to capture a deity, and that could mean several people, including Aurora from Storm from the X-Men, Snowbird from Alpha Flight, Hercules, who's with the Avengers, and Thor, who's also with the Avengers. Now, this idea was actually planted in Reed's brain by Mephisto, and Mephisto is very happy that he's using that because it's part of his goal. Well, Reed then calls the X-Men to give them a heads up as to the situation, and Wolverine is not too happy about it. Now, the X-Men consist of some interesting characters this time. We have Rogue, Psylocke, and this is before Psylocke was all ninja-y, and she had this weird frilly costume. And then we have Storm, Dazzler, and Longshot. Yeah, I think that's everybody. But anyway, when Psylocke goes to scan for mines, there's a sudden backlash and a piercing wail, and it starts distracting everyone and crippling them. So Dazzler has to absorb the sound and convert it to light, because that's one of her mutant powers. And it works really well. So Mephisto has to go up there by himself to actually confront them, and that's when he plants one on Rogue's lips, and she absorbs a little bit of his power, but not like usual. And I think this is actually the first time she's ever kissed anyone. It sounds like it anyway. He makes out with her a little bit, and she catches on that he's up to no good and wants the X-Men, so she has to go around and use her bare hands to take them out one by one, which does not go over well because she was part of the Brotherhood, so she's not fully trusted by the X-Men still at this point. So she knocks out Wolverine first, then goes after Storm and takes her out, and she's absorbing all their thoughts and abilities at the same time. Then she hits Dazzler, and Dazzler's pretty unique because she was for a very short time a Herald of Galactus, and she was dating the Beyonder for a while too. If you ever read Secret Wars 2, the original Secret Wars 2, then you know that there was some kind of thing between them for a long time. So she's been in touch with some very powerful cosmic beings that may have had an influence, so she's a valuable one to Mephisto. But again, Rogue beat him to it. Then Rogue takes on Psylocke and drops her, and Longshot gets knocked out because, according to Mephisto, he doesn't have a soul, at least not in the sense that the humans of Earth do, because Longshot's from another dimension. So if he has a soul, it's different than what Mephisto recognizes. But he makes it a point to say that he doesn't have one, and that's a little harsh. But then it turns out Rogue's being played, and Mephisto smooches her one more time. He returns to Wolverine part of his essence that Rogue took, and then vanishes, and Wolverine ends up becoming very feral. And Mephisto has laid claim not only to Jean Grey then, but to Rogue and everybody she's touched, because when Rogue kisses someone or touches someone, she absorbs part of their essence. And in this story, we learn that that is actually temporarily taking their soul, or at least part of it. Not only did Mephisto get Jean Grey, he got most of the X-Men as well. So that's where we leave off with that one. And you know what? This was another fun issue. You actually learn a lot about the X-Men in here. It fills you in quite nicely on who's who and what's going on. And if you're a real big X-Men fan, you're really going to like this miniseries. So this is written by Al Milgrom with pencils by John Buscema, Al Milgrom inker, Rick Parker lettering, George Russos coloring, Ralph Macchio editor, and Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. Now, what's great about this miniseries is even if you jumped in the middle, there's enough here that you will be filled in, at least on a superficial level. You'll know what's going on. They reference everything very well. Everything's tied together, so if you miss the first 2 issues, you can still enjoy the book pretty nicely. So I highly recommend getting this miniseries if you're any kind of fan of old school Marvel when they were still really good, especially if you like this classic lineup of the X-Men from the 80s. It was a really solid team when Storm was leading them. All around a great time to be an X-Men fan. And we learned a little bit about Rogue's powers and her first kiss. The cover price was pretty expensive. The paper's held up really well over the years, and hopefully they'll reprint this. I know they did one trade paperback reprinting, but I don't think they've done it since then, and hopefully they will eventually put it digitally or in trade format so it'll be easier to get. I would definitely recommend picking that up if you get the chance. But that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Please hit like and subscribe, and we hope to see you on the next one.